上有宁德巴天巴拉人主马上觉面谢了巴热马杰瓦南给我说说让你一切去对说也为上次路得要他个的巴拉Para sanga de mode so de bade para sanga de mode so de bade para sanga de mode so Gere Dongda Yajo Chewa Dabe De Deve Jeda Chewa Dan Chewa Joshi Chewa Yo Sa Shi Ge Yo Sanje Shada Soje Tage Shishi Jire Sananje Rada Sanje Sanje Shada Soje Shajavada Dane Jasa Tage Shishi Jire Sananje Rada Droba Sanje Shaba Dane Jasa She Tage Shishi Jire Sanje Droba Simje Tabi to Tojalana me Zove Saji Homar Mujin Tomashi. Teacher Tabishi Sanya Bekulu Shajus Chemas is said that the summer shoes. Let me remind every one of ourselves to take a moment and cultivate bodhicitta motivation or the altruistic motivation seeking complete enlightenment for the benefit of all other sentient beings. And with that kind of at least contrived bodhicitta altruistic motivation, we should participate in this discourse on Bodhisattva's perfection of joyfulness or joyful effort. So last week, among other things, we talked about how if we don't reflect on that awareness and we miss the opportunity to practice Dharma and prepare ourselves for that eventuality, when the eventuality strikes us, when the death strikes us, so at that time, we would find ourselves in very difficult situations. And even if we think that now I would like to stay focused in the practice, it would rather be very difficult when we have not habituated ourselves into the practice while we could. And then we also started to, recall that we have done so many negativities, of course, since beginningless time, but also in this life, and we haven't purified them. So these negativities could precipitate our rebirth in the unfortunate states where the suffering is untold. Even thinking about the suffering there is very unbearable. But if you really get there, even it will be much worse. And so these are the things we talked about. And so in the extensive commentary, as it always does, it cites different sources to substantiate the point. And so one of the texts is Shirulek, Letter to a Friend by Great Nagarjuna, and that's cited in the commentary.
Gaba zamshiki tuji padi shue na nyewayi dunga shiye tene namdung tu tene namdung tu meji khanla doje rangshin no nyewa chiba tongda teba ta tenda la de susu jibe kyang jiba kyawa jene mesebe Nami nyonsu nyon mochi sil sheda rujuk dunge ki nane nyewe dunge nye suela meba ne dene nyinjik dungdung ngab jaye rabdi chada dunge kaan lakwa dene nyewe dunge chungu lakwa oya miji shaya migo to sheda Ti dungi yuring be ti ta tere siring le ta en de chimanyewa dungi se ati karsa o pato ne en chungwa mazo tinte yinzi mazo jile te chua se ta rinpo kaya ma resi ko keji ji resi ti zanda ti pa chiba tene yewa dungi be ta yewa xie te ne namdong di mi ra Cheta dire kya be dunga ta dire yor tue ni tue ba da ene nyewe peke peri dhaba dunga nyuya chiba dhaba da wa dire suk chiba dhaba kanchi be dire tongdu zangla be karsa shena kya ni nying kye kuya dhaba shiwari di ina didiya liya shena rime tato dikwa saa ni ene be diya di shirak be Dorjee na shiri so ta kasi ke ngazo so jo tamyo de samlo de be da su jo to kha wo dorjee se de ngazo ju da cha wa ji zhe wo ro dorjee
al dorjee
na shiri so sa jo zhe wo ro che de sem de su jo tamyo kha sho ma sha de sem de cha lo dorjee na shiri When is in the yard doing the Trevor do in the year PGT do into the tone da soldier tone to the Ningia to yard, the other measure what he should have been good to share did. I think another be seems that Tamio and seems to be Dojera here, Chiparis, or this water.
Arya Nagarjuna in Shuru Lake or Letter to a Friend states, as Geshe explains, that when we hear about the suffering of unfortunate states, in particular that of the hellish states of existence, that itself should be unbearable and frightening. It should scare us. And if we do see the depiction or the thangka painting of suffering beings in the hell, so that should really frighten us. But our ordinary mind seems to be so stubborn, like a vajra, that it doesn't seem to be affected by it. So we are basically engaging in intrapersonal communication within ourselves, right? So we're telling our mind, how can you be so stubborn like a Vajra that you don't get frightened by all these descriptions of the hell and the thanga bending of the hell and recollecting the hell? How come you really don't get any affected by that? So we are telling our mind, I don't understand it, I don't get it. Why are you so stubborn here? You might be thinking that the hell is too far off, I don't have to worry about. But you should know that the only distance is this breath, breathing in, breathing out. When you breathe out and you couldn't breathe in, you could be in the hell state. It's not that far. The hell is just very nearby. It's what really different, stands between us and hell is this breath, because we could breathe in and breathe out. But let's say we breathe out and we couldn't breathe in, then we could easily be in the hell, and where the suffering we describe and to be pained is much more than that. So we should really tell our mind that it should really be wise and take that discourse and do the practice. So how can you seem so relaxed and unmoved by all this suffering descriptions and the painting of the hell?
没这些的入住个东西当的，现在东西虽然没有那那人性当中啊，这也让的找着东西看了吧，天天因为东西凶了，是为了下面几度些东西，我听到的东西知道。你说东西送下来的，天呐，他那的东西的，你也东西是玩的，你东西，这白着看这些的是玩的，我也没听说过，上半年没半年，你那年轻时，你们这那个什么，东是东的这的，孙家也别，阿拉这么把着没吧，东孙家你们人家被东走的。苏博的希望的，你也东西兄弟别样收嘛的是，现在他这个东西什么样的，这东西的呗，没着这东西的你是送给哪里？都晓得的是，都这是话的。今年这东西穷样式，因为那东西呗，穷的样被变着有，当这被下样收嘛的是，现在好像东西什么的是。我这是他，就是你所说的东西，这些我些，听到的，你东西其他的，那家小的有人我是，我听早上我要这些，我听人不着，现在他别的地方这些的，我是的没得了，你们今年看阿拉怎么些，东什么叫被种看那些呢？那东西这个这些不都是小啥？现在听你东西啥现在，那听啥不嘛的说，可是呢。我这都没东西做的，驴子再差点这个，可是你要当下的熊下去，拿着下来了，再去拿着什么当呢？我这是个我的先生的。
So in the letter to a friend, it is stated that in general. The suffering of three unfortunate states of rebirth or three bad migrations is very extensive and untold suffering. But among the sufferings of the three unfortunate states, the suffering of a hell state is the most intense and the worst of its kind. And so if somebody asks, okay, could you describe what it really likes to be in the hell, that suffering, untold suffering you're talking about? So the example given is that imagine that your body, human body, is uninterruptedly pierced 300 times by sharp spears, right? So how much pain are you going to go through that, right? That seems like unbearable. But that suffering, it does not even represent the smallest of the suffering in the hell. So as we said, the suffering in the hell is extensive. It is very intense, and it goes for a very long time. right? So the intensity of the suffering, the extensiveness of the suffering, and the longevity of the suffering are just unimaginable, as Geshe explained, that even in the human body, our skin and body is, I think, harder than the skin and the body of hell beings. As we talked about this last week, the hell beings, because of their karmic, dispositions, their body seems to be very delicate, very sensitive to any little pain. So if that delicate body, sensitive body, is let's say poked, right? Uninterruptedly for 300 times, without any break. That's something bearable or not?
What is it? Oh, you know, the day doing it, you soon sound to just only the donation to Miss Law. Me the donation to Miss Law, she ought to charge you. She see me get Massity, Massy Bajuba. This is sort of job, Minjuro, here song law. Song Jong the shoe by Zumbling base, Minye. Zabinimbe me nye mela, ali zabinimbe me nye mela tardona. Tomata di chue the devil kaza. Chue the devil juro he dang. Dua lonely jang sada deba kagaki pu. Sera ngama sera ngajara nyajiba mich jajiba shi mirje radishone yewe tamtebe ngarti jeba tembes habubuga kun cha mabo sabes shu chu chubana lishi jangwan she nawa she dos what did 유령 다 등에 차고 있네요. 유튜브 저 나오더니 유령 뭐 이래서야 되지. 그래서 데레 상조 기발에 잡을링 배에 메뉴에 멜 따르도다 통화점이 뭐 예매 말은 거니. 그럼 내가 통화도 뒤에나 거라 셔네. 다들 배시로 그랬어. This is the Mother Namji Tijera, Sumo Chuma, that the Korakami, the quite that shit didn't know you settle Gami no one Joni and settle Yakora de Combatinalia. Your man is doing you worse in the Sanji and you know the day Sumo Chuma de Combat. Think we all did not show ya shot ya show tatas. Shago for sure in ya. She would go to let me no days or the Jones that Meda Karina so Meda things are made here to show to tell you she will have yourself. What they already said.
So what we talked about is this. So let's say even if the suffering in hell is very intense, but it's only for a short period, maybe it doesn't matter that much, isn't it? But the suffering is too intense and it goes for so long as whatever that karma that caused that rebirth is not purified or exhausted. As long as that karma exists, you really don't die. You just end up going through the suffering, and that can go for a very, very long time. So therefore, when we take into account the scope of the suffering, the intensity of the suffering, the longevity of the suffering, your delicate and sensitive body, everything put together, really it is like unimaginable. It should be. But why mind is like a vajra, not affected, even hearing about those things. So as Geshe explained, that Angulimala, and because of a lot of negativity accumulated, and he was in the hell for a long time. Even when he was in a human form, it is said that even when he stayed in his own room, he felt like he's burned by the fire of the hell. That was his own personal experience. And so Buddha talked about that, and then others said, how could it be? And then Buddha said, why don't you try to insert an iron rod into his room, right, cell, and then find out. When they try to do that, that iron rod would melt as if, that's the kind of intensity that he was experiencing. So Geshe said that the kind of the heat we know of the fire in the human world, the fire destruction, compared to the fire of the hell, our fire is really not powerful enough, It is stated in the commentary that if we even were to have a sight of the fire of hell, that will cause heart attack and we will die. We don't have to even go and get burned or like near it. We're just seeing the intensity of the hellfire, we could die of a heart attack.
다네 차 망보 사베스 추고 초주바나 루지정아 시나와 셰도스 어다 디그 로주로 가려는 어디에서 왔다 근데 세다데 바칸가기 분시 에네 게론지서 어디 잡아셔니 거기만 저 세라가 맞지 바질라지 거 녀아젠 세라가 녀나 누가 녀아리스 근데 거 게론시사네 에네 녀게 드레셰바 퇴데서 코딩가 뭐냐 누가 녀가 전소테니 그 전에네 그 지장강자제니 수고스 바케네 차다 그 동시에 두어서 배워봐서 이 지내서 상제 영어들이야 나선생아 노로리야 매우 노로 공하지 그게 개인이야지 어디 나버렸어
매우 나로죠
너 넘지시는 것도 샤답다 쇼고는 샤답서 소미요 뭐 이디월 가요 말아
매우 나야지
다도 매우 나 다 쇼고섬지 차한테 나 제는 남자 왜 제야 말아 강해요 다 닝마도 잡자 들려야지 자기도 강해요 말아 제가 먼저 근데 나서야지 도와가지 요르시죠 어디 나오고 지대로 어디 차리서
So there are stories to illustrate the suffering of hell in a text called Dual Lung, literally translating transmission of Vinaya. So there is a story of a monk who was simply known as the son of Ganga. So that must be the name of his mother. So when other monks talk about the suffering of the hell, he recollected that he was in the hell for 500 lifetimes, suffered that much. So when other monks talk about the hell, that affected him so much that his body almost as if started to crack and the blood would gush out of his body. He couldn't bear it. So then others asked Buddha, what's going with this monk? He can't even hear about this thing. Then Buddha told about how his life story, and so his whole robes were kind of stained by the blood coming out of the body, and so he needed to be changed. So that's why Geshe said in the Vinaya text, because of that incident, it is as if Buddha permitted the monks to wear another layer within their lower robes. The lower robe is called shanda, right? The robes, but underneath that, there's like a skirt. They wear it. So because of that, but in case something like happened and your three outer layers get contaminated, right? Then you have to change. So you're naked. So Buddha don't want you to be in that situation. So Buddha permitted the monks to wear a skirt underneath their lower robes. So that story, I think, is sort of a precursor to Buddha's permitting the monks to wear a skirt underneath their lower robes.
写多是天的新嘛是因为东西我是用起了大的是，他的能习惯的教见呢，这就用我啥了有下等，其中是了，都是电波电轨呗，把电多是他的这个，他的写白的这个吧，的逻辑这个就写个语言开始写呢，因为他那边也得帮也不毛线呢。ini sima nyewa jasa na dunga dire nyewa yerisi odi ya ini gewa laglen tar fa kuma to la intende di logi dong de she yesiwa.
So in the extensive commentary, it tells us, what is the purpose of describing, all these, suffering details of the hell, and also including a story like that of the son of a Ganga, right, who became a monk. But then when he recalled that he was in the hell 500 lifetimes, then that freaked him out, and blood starting to gush out of his body and contaminate his robes. So these are for us to be able to take seriously, the intensity of the suffering in the hell, the extensiveness of the suffering, and the longevity of the suffering, so that because we are not there yet, isn't it? But we have already accumulated a lot of negativities over many lifetimes, and this could cause our rebirth in the hell, where these things are very real, So before it is too late, that we are able to kind of engage in our practice of purification and accumulating merit, so that we don't have to really experience the suffering that's captured in the story. So that even if we are reborn as human, we might still remember that suffering, and that can that kind of a what is that? But PD, what is the veterans, they have got to post something. Yeah, something like that with the hell PTSD, so we don't have to experience that.
Oh, that they could share the tin, Chimania doing was Nuzilla Tades, Tadan and Jiga, the Joa Jenny. Did you not sound you was you shot the Shinjula, don't some them would go over 10 was it. Did you Joyous, good some days, Joa Giovanni did a she make us. The one you give Chung se chang so ba me ba dribu de yi de wan de ba ta ka je so yi du nge chamo dang ya se me ne be se re jin la du nge na so yi ne ba mang bo sha shi ba ba jo shi she ba hu ya per shong sha je ne ma xin xie jong de se re jin da shong sha jin yi ka ne ba je me se ba dra so se o se je da na go se be some little tears so be de da de me de xie any la le da de any digwa mo do ji gwa sa no mo do ji o tin de xie go so de de be ne ba te su na ni se re xie se na ne ba te da mi so xie bo sang e no se de era me na de sa ka ji xi bo na de na Shira mana sen sueva ju kajete na na shibe nguni ke jaga so de wade mera ya de serche se na tide dunge shugu sueva de se oro oji se tide ya se de tada ko no do se pe long do su de samlo ma da je ni gewa che ma sa de wa de dunge shugu je mi so she do se de na ene be ti so no ge do sha ri se wa ta no ge se wa
No. So in the extensive commentary, there's a description of our present situation or circumstance. That is, every one of us, we wish for happiness, and we don't wish for any kind of pain and suffering, right? But when in terms of actual practice, how we behave, it looks like we are contradicting our own wishes. We don't do the positive actions which will bring the happiness we seek, and but don't stop doing the negativities which will bring the unwanted suffering. So it looks like what we wish for and how we behave, really they don't match, they're mismatched, contradict each other, And so because of that kind of habituation, we have long, many lifetimes that, we become quite impatient with any kind of pain and suffering. It is like even a little pain becomes unbearable for us. An example Geshe gives is that of, how, any of us, like some of us, when we get sick, we have quite a lot sense of tolerance, isn't it? Some of us, like, we get a little sick, then we just freak out and we cry like anything, like the whole sky dropped on your head. Geshe didn't say that. So since very impatient, any little thing, like that. And some people have a little more tolerance, And so now this is a good time for us to be able to seriously reflect on our own present situation, where we wish for happiness, we don't wish for suffering, but our practice is contradicting or violating our wishes, because we do a lot more negativities than positive things. And if it keeps doing this, we will end up in hell and bad migrations with a lot of suffering. But at the moment, we are very fortunate. We are not there yet. So therefore, we should, take a lesson out of our present situation and build up our practice of abandonment and adoption, so that we regret sincerely for the negativities we have already done, try to purify them, and we firmly resolve, do our best not to repeat them over and again, and then we pursue more virtue. So this way, we bring transformations within ourselves, and we prepare ourselves better for the eventuality of death, and better for the next life.
Mumba se George nam Lord Chidagi Simbercho Soji se Gyuje se Mengadam She Shendu She Dungetan Shinjin Jigwatan Yensong Dungetagis Gumar Chumbar Jurkebam Yanda Tetabu Mumba Gedise Nalas Tenju Zobapu Ninjiang this Q Mumba Nam Deva Misujin Deva Bajel Deva Metochin Mundeba Todi Pabi Dungetaki Choba Jurshi Choba Jurshi maybe Tonos Devrada Delaya in it. Tata be Geshe Tendera Humaris Jibedo, Diajibe, Uruba Diaso, Geshe Hiataja, the Mijoshi, Russia, Marisita, Damini, Shive, Sunkin, this Shida, Sunkin, this Tando Doro, Pame, the Chinese, Shua Mireba Javi, Dom, Yana, Lala, Shimiji Jivatang Dawa. Show me what are you doing nowadays? So that's Hal Shimi said, not saying was a Hal San Shami gets at the Marava. Not saying what Hal Shimi is already. Then I said, what the other do share this or need to change the cable, more passing, the indigency of that. So that the other there. And the Julia the Miga that draw the Tado, but said was it the good humor did. Gendu that is the day Jimodoje, Dunga Dunga Juro Deza, a Laglash Lazan, you are Laglan, so you were a senator, and Dunga Bashima the Young Tomarwa. What is it? Since lower to Shedak December, Java saw yes, say, Tuesday, Menga the Shendu, she Dunga, Shenjin Jigwat and Yensong Dunga. Humor Choba Jursheba Yana Teta Mova Yedise Nana then you zobabu. Yinjiang Jiu Mongba, Nam Deva Muto Jing. Mundeba taught the baby, doing it a job, Jersey, he maybe Tonos, or dear Dashida, that neither of the shouldn't be Lalende be Tada Gendushin, Tada Laleshin be. So some don't that Lalene Gendushin loves the Yinza. In the deal yata, since it was dear Ninja Mosini, you talk on the Jews at the Minga de Gages at all, or did the Minga de Gate, Yana, Tado said, in the Jesus Bushala in the Minga Gondres, doing it be new ship to tell ya some of the Shitado, because she had Chenny, and has on Mizo Shebo Shoni into the song of short.
So we are engaged in this internal dialogue or intra-personal communication dialogue with ourselves or our stubborn mind, like a Vajra. So we're telling the mind that the way you are conducting your life is as if you are like an immortal divine beings. The celestial beings are simply called immortal, not because they will not die, but they tend to live very, very long time. You know, they have such a longevity. So the poetic label for them is immortal beings. You know, looks like they never die, but they will. You know, so we're telling our mind why you are thinking like you are like immortal celestial being. You know, because you should know you're already born. What will happen, you know, undoubtedly is the death. Every birth ends in death, you know, that is the fact, you know, and why don't you, you know, accept that? And of course, you have all these wonderful aspirations. You want to be happy, you want all the goodness, you don't want any kind of problem and suffering. But then if you look at your own behaviors, there is a disparity between, you know, your intention, your wishes, and your actions, isn't it? You wish for happiness, you do a lot of negativities. You don't want suffering, right? We wish for happiness, we don't do positive things. We don't want suffering, we create a lot of negativities. So our actions are undermining our own aspirations, wishes, and we have created this big paradox and contradictions within ourselves. You know, we are kind of working against our own wishes, you know. And don't you see that? We're telling our mind, I mean, don't you see how big contradiction, you are? And so because of this, you know, situations that we, you know, are in, the great Bodhisattva, Mahasattva Shantideva, I mean, he has so much compassion for us. That's why it is as if he doesn't want to talk about all this suffering and health at all. But just it's like he finds himself helpless. It's just like, you know, uncontrollably, he started to talk about, oh my God, you guys, you know, wake up. This is going to be what is going to be. So I don't understand it. So this is as if out of great compassion for us, Bodhisattva Shantideva, you know, he uncontrollably, you know, had to all this, you know, talk about all this, you know, situations to wake us up.
Dribu dewa dewa ju gawa la zong rewa le, gawa le miso ba deji wa rewa tam. Dungye se nyu na, dungye se nyu na, dungye ki te zang nyu mini cha, chung se zang se mini bi shir, dungye shung yang she shir rewa tam. Shida ga sung shing dewa se, shi mo go ba tar. 파장데 뇌미리장 하단자 유릉부 바디 유릉부 바디 미저 손데레스 셰르 테 테다부세 몽바다니 몽바나니 니제니스 오바오 오바오 데다 데 쇼메다바다 시베 동에 데바니 노디오다 거기에 다 데고 견디도 유당 가르세나 Shantideva Lalin Gediresa, Ikaresa, Deresota. And they are the already, they are Gigat on the Motoshe, Mendova Dunga already, and Dunga Gisheta Samdiris, and the do the Ores. Take on Namsing Eva Bear, people old you will share that they special Tarboka Yomadi. Tell you, don't you but they are somewhat on Doris. She didn't get some say do. But they didn't get some somewhat on any day I saw without going to shit doing it, yeah, doing it or some good is or that.
So in the commentary, it is described, and as Geshe explained, that we should reflect on these three kind of contradictions in which we are caught up with. And they are, although we wish for happiness and goodness, but behaviorally, we are not creating the causes for happiness and goodness. We are not doing anything virtue, right? Not enough, at least. Although we don't wish for suffering and pain, but our behaviorally, we are creating a lot of its causes, negativity, So those are two big contradictions already. And then the fact of the matter is that, time of death is uncertain, but we are living like an immortal celestial being, Deva. Actually, we are not going to die today, not tomorrow, right? So that's another contradiction. So we are caught up in these three big contradictions, and that's why it's not serving our purpose. Now we should seriously reflect on this, and so if we wish for happiness, goodness, then we should how should we say, align our behaviors with it, create positive actions. If we don't wish for suffering, align our actions with it. Don't do anything negativities. And if we accept that the time of death is uncertain, then don't think like you are not going to die like the celestial beings. Live long in a long time.
Today, show me that Siva doing them, Siva, usually George, Tabdi, Cold Koya doing Major, Lila Yor, George, somebody, Yambo go with Suros. That is, the here, the never doing the any cheer doing it, the Duma was here, tell you call you, you can do it, Jenny, any call to do it, tell you any. You do Paulo to Paulo to be Lali Shitoya Tonda, what did it ever you see what? Teta Chia Sabani has a Teta Chia Saba Chibe Teta Shaw about the Siva doing it, but Siva usually George Tabdi. Cold Koya doing yes, majorly Lila Newa somebody, the Nibu Gumsulo, so that here they are Harrisona, and the Lila Somjira, Karshubi Lila, the Gilu Yellow said, in the Karshawangi, what Lila the Doya Todala, and that the Koya doing the here is. This year is anything doing it here, somewhat on. And longer Lalen to La Valenta Todal. And the Koya doing it, the John Mabo here, the Gigaga, what is it Lale Todal? She said, but the yellow and show up with our she made the middle. And the Jawale, the enemy less young dramas, the country with Jawale, American, what the dead said, later some of the this is not any longer Lalen Kine. In the doing because the you began boy Ajida, the you do as it because Lava Lea, television, and Kosoa, you get it. That's why I've been here to get out to the Nuyama, you qualia Suria, tell you to see me. And could you do somewhere, some of the pedo Yamara? There's a pedo Yoga, but the Lalen Tedal. Because soon here that we never do a share, then show me that what the dog shall that was for cuddles, the dog should have the yard. Says sometimes you mutual do it as a year. Or this year, the longer long letter out of the shame. He started good at it, but he's
So in the commentary, it stated the reason and purpose behind describing and talking about all these things which seem so negative, isn't it? That we talk about how death is certain. Everybody will die. That doesn't look like a good news at all. But the time of death is uncertain. That's even worse news coming, right? We could die anytime. And then once we die, that's not the end of everything. We have to be reborn. And what determines our rebirth is the kind of karma we have accumulated. So basically, we find ourselves going round and round in samsara, and samsara is filled with suffering of all kinds, and the worst of the suffering are in the bad migrations. And we are talking about the suffering in great detail, the intensity, the extensiveness, the longevity, and all of those things. Looks like we have nothing good to say. It seems very unoptimistic and very bleak picture. And, why we talk about this thing? Because there's a way out. That's why. Okay. And so by contemplating these things, that we are able to deal with the three types of laziness that keep us within samsara, right? The laziness of not wanting to do anything, couch potato-ness, right? The laziness of procrastination. Yes, I know Dharma is important, practice is important. I'll do later. Okay, tomorrow. So that just keeps coming back, right? And the laziness of getting involved in less important matters, right? So what's more important is the Dharma, but no, first I have to finish all these important tasks and then I'll practice, right? So laziness of being caught in, lesser important things. So this laziness, distract our life and, get us involved in negativities and don't let us do the positive things seriously. And this is how, we keep staying in samsara. Now, if we want to overcome this laziness, then we have to seriously think about the things that we talk about. Death is certain, nothing mystery about that. The time of death is uncertain, so don't think like you are like an immortal being, because that is not true. And then you wish for happiness, that's good. Then learn to create the causes of happiness, virtues. You don't wish any suffering, then don't do any negativities that bring suffering. So don't build up all these contradictions and get trapped in your own contradictions. And so these are the lessons we learn, and so that we will be able to change our course of action, isn't it? So instead of doing the same thing over and again and being in samsara, now we have a different plan, different vision, ambition. We want to get out of samsara. Our purpose is not to go round and round samsara. We want to get out. So to get out, we have to develop what we call aversion to the samsara. And to develop aversion, we have to talk about what's wrong with samsara. That's why all these negative stories about what's wrong with samsara. Not because we have nothing good to say or we just want to make ourselves miserable. If there's no way out, Geshe says, why even be bothered to think about suffering, isn't it? That's going to make us more suffer, right? We already have enough suffering. We don't want to add any more. Because there is a way out. So we are saying, well, what you suffer is nothing. There are a lot more. So just be practical and realistic. And so you can, yes, you can change your action and you can save yourself, so to speak. So that's why. So behind all this negative story is the optimism and the hope and that you can change, and often we miss that and we feel like, oh my gosh, all this, terrible, endless sufferings Buddhism talks about, So it's important for us to keep in our mind the purpose and the reason behind why we, go through all this, miserable stories here of samsara.
Ni sambe nani sho yinde, cheba nyesha li, chewa semda temba, chewa somda da temba nam, tele dokta meba yin. Kandi chewa zhuwa ni, chembe sho de radu nga sheda, gyebala daba le jang, je tang yi nani, langbu je sho ko, medo nang yi nani, pema kabo sho. Dishi tabi nana medawi dishi shoko. Saba namji nana koala yin zhunga shoko. Yibo koala yin zhunga lekso. Kyoa kiwa lekso, he songsa. 写送电上一堆里落帮的是，然后比如这他可是千万没到我全部当领着上我做了，但我就些这个，但千万上吧，你特别说，跟女性说，话里中啊，就是可是三边能说上头就开始当呢，别话里中啊，上头或者说对养修的的时候是吧？你全部年下来，千万说等，但把那么得了多少没玩意，可能的千万中啊呢。全边说的然后就我写东西，也不我觉得到现在的全部年下来嘛，送下我觉得多，也不那么的开始送生的时候才开始，嗯多大没有，可能的希望中啊，你全边说的然后我写的也不那么来讲，也他们也能浪不起接受。那没多那一呢，白马搞不少，我是白干的我是这样，几呢用上没多那的没多白马搞不是那压个几个说，有几个这意思的。有些他也去也那没大问题说过是，我这个可是现在是特别你在搞的小时的，多到要么的是多到没的，第三个是第三呢，可能这个别小车嘛，就个女娃是可以么的，可小车呢，那要什么什么可，叫什么是的，那个电话的那个是你们这边电话就嘛了嘛，现在叫什么个别上面就可以，你也得来落过来的，也得啷多给他说了嘛。现在给的啷多学过的，唐大这边的我的了，你千万没带我钱，你可能没带我结果钱嘛，结果给他可以骗到什么是个要么的，根本这么些呢，你叫我什么的，叫我什么看着用过的是呢，你这个给的啷多个接如果什么的，就是看着这些被就是街头嘛的是，这个老年大呀，唐大这边的了，谈不的，你千万没带我的钱。到底女些的没他们女些下过的是，得想那给我了讲就到位，当时的也没用过是吧？现在那可对那边秋主啊是什么鬼啊是，国家就用过是吧？我提倡下面他们就老的过的可是没他们干这么些都是没他们的汤不开销的，怕的开销的，就是开销的开销什么小没他开什么也送多。我的头大的这他，个么大呢？你去了就我是吧？
In the Sutra on Mindfulness, it's stated, as Geshe explained, that death is inevitable and nobody can avoid it. Okay, and so that being the case, it's very important to reflect on death and develop that awareness of death that can be a powerful thought or awareness to induce, interest in us to be able to engage in virtues and avoid and to purify negativities. And awareness of death itself is not necessarily positive or anything like that, because it can induce, right? Because we know that death is certain, time of death is uncertain, death is not the end of everything, you have to be reborn. So what will decide your rebirth is the kind of karma you have created, and what would you like for your future happiness and good rebirth. What you don't want, bad rebirth, suffering, well, then we learn, right? We better do the good karma, have a good rebirth, and don't do the bad thing and bad. So it really links up with all the practice, isn't it? Now we have something practice to engage in. This is why awareness of death matters. Otherwise, awareness of death by itself, it's not necessarily does anything that much. And so there's so much praise given to the awareness of death in the Sutra on Mindfulnesses. And as Geshe explained, Buddha was trying to talk to a king, Indian king at the time, said, Your Majesty, I think you should really reflect on the and death and develop death awareness. Just as you can see, among the footprints of many animals, those of the elephants are the biggest giant, isn't it? So among all kinds of awareness, the awareness of death is very powerful, Your Majesty. You should cultivate that. Just as we say that white lotus is the spring of all kinds of flowers, right? That's why in the Buddhist imagery, white lotus is regarded as the best flower. Like you are a white lotus. That's great praise. So in that way, reflecting on impermanence is a very powerful reflection. And among all kinds of attitudes, the renunciation, aversion to samsara is the supreme attitude, or things like that. So Buddha started to tell a king how he needs to reflect on these matters and conduct his life accordingly. So the same for us, isn't it? So we want to see that if we think about death, then we know our life has a limit and it will surely come to an end. And then that's not the end of everything. We have to be reborn. And we know what we want and we don't want. So we don't want to be in contradictions here, right? We should align our actions with our aspirations. And this is how we find ourselves transforming. And now we have real practice to do, isn't it? And so Buddha in many sutras has always highlighted the importance of death awareness and reflection on the law of karmic action and results, right? These are very important matters. Great Kadamba Geshes, they often remind the disciples or students that death awareness is important in the beginning, it's important in the middle, it's important at the end of your practice. And so if we really reflect on the death, how it really works is that it's somehow not just our grasping at permanence of life, isn't it? Otherwise, we feel like, okay, I'm not going to die today, I'm going to keep it, right? So when we reflect on the death awareness, it obviously counteracts grasping at the permanence of life, because we said, let's be real, because death is real. I have to face that. And so right now, I'm in a very good situation. I'm not dead yet, but death cannot be very far. It's a matter of this breathing stops. I breathe out, I can breathe in, that's it. That's death. And so it can happen anytime. So I better seize the opportunity and do my virtue and avoid negativities. So for that reason, we talk about all this death and dying and the suffering of samsara.
Tata Tenzin Dorjee Shantideva Denbe se mi lu ten chu she sangbo dang zhao taba di tongxi di shewe tela teni so dungen ji rangxin ji siwe jiazi shenbu jia she la ting saba gyewa kawa jega na ji so nebe me sewa na so be se balab dang denba dele zhowe tabla bebar shela kowe dunge jabji shobar to kowe dunge le jabji shobar shagodi ten de la sizole yene se tabe kamsar dune bi neba chebaji yebi sohos ta del deswas da karsa in shoshi go langzo shegor da langzo shidi shegor de en ko langzo injime sedel shigwas ka yamara ko jawada be 통모메 练다다 练个ras 제가 제마도 지도 랑서 시 쇼고 왔으나 어디 제가 주마도 다 랑서 시고 다다 라练다고서 되죠 그래서这个电上一定的了是그래서 다다 배 쇼주베 퇴제 강제 퇴제 밀을 배 되게 줄선 류 디데질이야 쇼시는 쇼고를 뭐 이제는 anyway 뉴스 마켓에서는 이 쇼쇼 거거요 말이지 그래서 고갑이 다들 지어가지고 다들 고갑이 쇼지리 뭐 요즘 고갑이 지어라요 말이지 어디시네 그래서 다들 건도 쓰면 해야 되다 사바 거기 사바 용으로 이제 다리 새들 지고 하자 말이고 저저 기지죠 가는 거 지죠 그래서 어디니 무슨 거로 어디 저들다 이 예소 등에 타다 배워 天生一个，他好像老人他的偏向提啥是吧？现在得了呀，天生一个到底下上过的，天生一个底下上的，那这现在那才得了照顾呀，就上了课是吧？我的是我就，但天生的那边你的出现上不等，你知道他们没旅店的第一时候，他天生上没旅店的，那家长这么学习嘛，在旁边这么纯能些的。现在出门的时候严着头发是吧？现在的呀，上街完了，旅店的听说旅店那一套过来，我第一个是吧？现在来了我要嘛的，他听说我们就，老人呢，他听说你个啥的是吧？现顶上了，把牙膏，这个呢就说，那么没事了，那做没事，马上当时。可能你看呢，基本上人家欧洲的，我估计我这个叫的高的，那这个那个我把它做那一嘛就也是，可能基本没有效果说，基本的就是我的时候，把那等个这些，可是那时候把那等些，那么这里主要他了。别把学了，现在他的天说都的来，那考这个他别个认识，学了考也都个来，家就说吧，下过的，电的了，制作的给呢是他刚才这里面对吧？前吧就也没说，所谓的女人的他那别个开始呢，他的天说女人的了，那他就先把看这种的主要的对吧？要认识。你那现在人生这现在那中国上那主要最主要么那所以你吧要么的是，现在他说那说清楚，他那说那清楚之后，挺这人是吧的。
So as Geshe read from the extensive commentary and explained, so if our mind, that's the contention, as it tells us, what's the big rush? Get things done first, and then you can do practice later. Or like anyway, you will be reborn again in samsara. So what's the big rush? You can practice next life. Just have fun. Mind can say that. So to counteract that kind of, again, procrastination and all of that, so we reflect on how fortunate we are, like this time that we have found this fully endowed human form. This is the kind of life, it's very difficult to find over and again, yet greatly meaningful, and has this incredible ability to fulfill any kind of aspirations. So however hard, rare, difficult it is, we got it this time, And so we shouldn't waste this life. Don't say next life, anyway, I will be samsara, so rebirth, it will happen, right? Because next life, we don't know where we will be. More likely to be in the bad migrations than the tremendous suffering we talked about, and we're creating more negativities there. We end up being there even much longer. It is as if we cannot get out of that, right? The suffering and the length of a time in bad migration is just incredible. But lucky is that we are not yet there. Yeah. So seize the opportunity, because this kind of life almost is hard to get second chance. You have it right now. Your life is endowed by 8 freedoms and 10 enriching factors and endowments. And whatever you put your mind into, if you want to be liberated from samsara, nirvana is the way to go. Yes, you can. And if you want to be Buddha for the sake of all sentient beings, yes, you can. Why? It's not just a fantasy or aspiration that you have, because you have the fully endowed form that can make it real, But otherwise, in the future, we might still wish to be free from samsara, wish to be Buddha, but we might be in a situation that wish will never come because of the whole condition, right? You cannot practice. Your life existence, the body is not compatible with your wish. And that would be a very terrible thing, This is why we tell our mind, so don't deceive me anymore, right? Okay, I got what you're telling me. Yes, there are lives, after this life, but I don't know, right? I will have this kind of life over and again. So this is a very rare opportunity. And as I can practice, so we should develop the sense of urgency, that we have these wonderful aspirations, that we are able to fulfill our aspirations, And the time is now, the sense of urgency, not later or not next life, because a lot of uncertainties in the future. So this is how, we can make essence out of this life. This is where Geshe said that most of you have already received the complete Lamrim teachings, right? Where we talk about the fully endowed human form, its qualities, and how difficult it is to find it, how rare it is, how meaningful it is. So bring all of that teachings into your mind and use it here, right? So that we develop a sense of urgency and we will go into action, right? Now, action meaning practice.
Some lion, Hindi ye gawe, gawe no gae, Simomba Chuchi, Ranila, Pene, True Yudiso, surely gay goba, Tari Dungeji, Shuchabu, Shudashabu, Paru du Dunambi, Ludin Trodang Jawa, Dida will lazy Toby, Tuso, Pa Meve, Nong the Ye Malobar. Kana lela, long the tuition the killer, Siva Dungeling ever and Jumes, Tabum Labasum, Tab, Lam Labasum, Nyamsalambala, Zones, Ni Sola, Tembe, Newly Lulu, Gobala, Beaver, Chibos, or Dirigida, Tadel in a Lulu on this Betangina, Tomisena, and the Taradioshe. Tonjusena said you do some that did said he did some Tadachi in the Silver this year. Ben, we did choose somebody that and the Shishabo to talk about Nashi, that the big Tava Tavi or Dua Lude Truno, Lude Truno, Niva Yugi, or Tamuto Lude, the shoes, Magiva Silver. She showed race, which is there in the Shen, the young and the there is new mother, Chin young years, Marie, La Shen Ye Gawe. Shen Ye Gawe, no Gae, say, Momba Chuche, Ranila, Pene, then the true you do so, surely gear go batar, Tari, Dungaji Jazashabu. Paru the Runebe, Lude Trodden Jaw, Dictable Lindsay Toby, to the Palmer Mountain Malobar, Kana Little London Tuition Sheila, Sibe Dungan, Yever enjoy be top Lam Lava Song, Yamsala, Sones, Ni Loba, Ni Sola Debes, New Lady Logo Balas. Bevachi Jabos, Data, Carsa Momba Tuesday, says, do a dear Dakaji, Tari, Ludin del Coal Tunanda, Sanji Komatana, Devaka Ludin del Yaris, said, didn't detail, but Ludin Gagalia and the Tavatan, the order to Maris. Said that Lindsay Toya Dika the Tola mother in the Peugeot of Towers. True, you did answer that. Chipper Tonga tree, tongue in the tree, you ever cut it, Chin doing dog, you trim here, Castle, don't depend on Yamara, she says you, Marama. The teacher that the Momba Shuta, Spare Carsa, Momba to the Nimalo says that you use on your this was a raw, so good at answer. Missionaria Silmata, so Momba, so good at answer. In the river, Lilo Moshi, Lando, the Sushi, Nose language. Moba, the Ludin did a Raguma, Demara, and Taki Omari, Taki Usaris. No, such as that other Lavella, you cut it, any Peugeot, the Tona Shema Showers.
So, this extensive commentary continues to explain that. We are basically again engaged in, as Geshe emphasized, that in intrapersonal communication dialogue, we're not talking about anybody else or telling somebody else what to do or what not to do. Basically, telling ourselves here that you know, this fully endowed human form is like a wonderful boat that we can use to cross the ocean of samsara. And we, of course, have the wish to get to the other shore of liberation or nirvana, isn't it? We have the wish, we have the capability, and we have met the Dharma, and what can stop us, right? We should seize the opportunity, you know. But if we waste this opportunity, and the next time you wish to cross the ocean, but there's no boat. So it's just simply a wish. You cannot get there, you know. So right now you have the wish, you have the ability to do that, and this is the time to do it. So basically calling ourselves or our mind, hey, stupid, you know, don't be a lazy bum. You know, I didn't make that one up. That's what I said. Shantideva says somewhere like, this is, hey, stupid, this is not the time to take a nap. You know, this is time to wake up. So we're basically telling our mind that this is the best time and we should buckle up and we should use this boat like fully endowed human form to cross the ocean of samsara full of suffering so that we can get to the other shore of nirvana where there is the lasting, you know, peace and happiness. You know, that's what you want and that's what you can do right now. So don't postpone it. Don't say I'll do it another lifetime because this boat will not come back again and again, right? This is not possible. And so therefore we tell our mind, so don't be careless. Don't just indulge in the pleasures of sleeping and taking nap and the laziness. Don't be a lazy bum. Just be real. You know what you want and you know what you can do with this fully endowed human form and do it. You know, don't have a second thought and don't say I'll do it later or do it next life, you know, because I will be samsara again. Well, then we could be in a much more terrible, situation where we could still wish, but we cannot do anything with that. Close.
Long zhao de nian mu liu le bang cai xin, da de zhou lin bei wa xia, xie song de de na kong de xie wa dang, xie wa nian song du nge tam san nian xie, ta da de zhe du nge jian ye xie, nie su ma jie pa ra, ta wa ga wan zhe bu ling ge, mi dian xie wa zhe te bi tu de zhe xie, lin zhe ji lang zhe cui xing du xie ne, 信你这是你这叫我允许我，允许我的太不知道了是，突然间在等有么人你个别，这头些件事，你就出这么说了是，他中国的，他的中国的是泸州解释，热的差些。 长话也，你话你们姓姓陈，结果他给热话也，一大他也全不下，毛边东个让毛边，手上但是全不下，的确那帮的确这他干啥呢？没这都就是你说就。 Rub the gym, the Chevasha, she soon be shares, or David, that dealer herself. I did herself. Call the Sheva, so doing some Tadebe, doing near Jedi, the top of the W and me. Then Cheva to go due to learn be never so good, but because should do good, but yeah, million paid over George machine. That's all you go to Josina. Give a time some go. The judge of neither judge of Toda and the Joe Mamma go, she had to go in the lazy you do my share. This other Tanda Tenzo be a blue. Just a part of here, Trina, he did Tola Mazzi, Maga was the much for zero, much about the end of the Peugeot on the chain. 出的马戏馆上过跑这里吧，就他我去追星他那这样要嘛是吧？我其实他的哪个有的当来那超拉毛小些的，一些明星啊，电影的了呀，真是什么时候效果的是？那第一次。
So in the commentary, it continues to say that, yes, samsara is fraught with suffering. It's not a really real happy place. If it is, then, there's nothing to worry about. Samsara has all kinds of suffering, such as the suffering of birth, sickness, aging, death, and many other things. But that being said, we are very fortunate among the sentient beings in samsara. We have fully endowed human form, and this is the best kind of life anybody can ever have, to be able to make spiritual advancement. So we have this boat-like fully endowed human form with 18 qualities, and we should not waste it. It's just like, we want to cross the river. We have a boat, and we didn't seize the opportunity. When the boat is broken down, now we said, oh, I wish I had used that boat, right? That is too late. We have this body. Before we die, but when we die, this body will fail too. So we should really seize the opportunity to be able to, how should I say, cross the ocean of samsara. So that is the smart thing to do. One thing Geshe said earlier, I did not emphasize, is that when we said, oh, stupid, we're not calling anybody else stupid. We're just calling ourselves, our mind, the stubborn, vajra-like mind, is stupid, so we had to jerk our mind and wake up and realize, how fortunate we are to have this fully endowed human form that has the capability to achieve anything, right? Nirvana from samsara, enlightenment for everybody else. And so don't waste this precious life. But if you say, I will do sometime in the future, I might get this life again in the future, that is very, very rare and difficult,
What because Sumala Sobala, so good this Gobulu Gita de Hiring Mendo. Rab the Sahi Chama, Yawa, Chicken Chain. Pico Dog Rimba, Reva, Yidada, the Chambasha. Mumbai Dunga Rab Maui, Soson, Tashi Chambasha. Ticket number Digi Tokan Zani, me, the don't use. You so you route you dream the Shevasha, she so be shares out there. The hearing is a raw. Route the kind of Saki Toma, Yawa, Koji, near doing a Koji that, Koya doing some percentage, Koji, Yawa, Resigura, route the Saki Toma, route Sawa, some Yugi, Toma, Tonyesi, in the Tangris. The Nika, Yawa, you must eat. Jago Dog Reva is Ida. Eva Ida Taja Chambashas, because you do it Handra. Mombe Dunga Ramois, Shozon Tashi Chambasha. Ticket number, Digit J. Tokanzani me Lu, to the Yuson Ju, rubbed him the Shabashas, here's of Bashers, or did a delicate of Karshis, any pay. Never doing it, you saw doing it, you might change something, Pento Marisura, because you do to Lord, because you shook my lap with some Goroa. So then you might shake something, Reva. The Ida, there are no some good is you doing it because you could do in some good is. She that could be some combat of Yakuris in the concert that the out that doing it to be Susan Maris. Taji show said, Lord, good job, Shasona. In Girard Shason, and then the whatever the some of the Baruba, Teddy Belgila, some the native and over. What did you in the Sanguis? So this is why. And to look near the Canedo, Yida near the Canedo, near the Canedo, Zugaga, Jigba, or Sanguis, and that got them to this war, Karsa. Show the Chidaji. Neka Visigora, Tejo said, better to do a Cheva to know the me Cheva said, Tata Ludin Delayorisota.
No.
She said you don't know that so that say to do in the scene, Tongo in the bed, just in the bed, Togo Chombo. 现在这里都会找到的了呀，天上美丽培训当然多嘛是吧？这天上美丽可能从我们培训着看当个现在，内部给都是吃过了，或者是我的。
Arya Nagarjuna's letter to a friend, Shirulek, is cited in the extensive commentary. And as Geshe explained, Arya Nagarjuna advises us that we should continuously reflect on the suffering nature of samsara in general, and particularly the suffering of three unfortunate states. And so he said you should reflect every day on the suffering of heat experienced by beings in the hot hells, the suffering of cold experienced by beings in the cold hells, and the suffering of hunger and thirst experienced by pretas or hungry ghosts, and all kinds of other sufferings experienced by animals. It's not enough to reflect on them whenever we can or we would like to, or kind of like, until we have that transformative experience, right? We say, oh, I cannot tolerate this suffering at all. When we have that kind of transformative experience, then that will make a difference for us to engage in practice, actively. So until that, it's not like reflect on it once in a while, or when we feel like to do, it won't make the that much of an impact. And as great Kadamba Geshes often say, this is the high time for us human beings to differentiate ourselves from other lesser kind of animals, meaning that unlike lesser kind of animals, we human beings have the cognitive ability and also the ability to engage in Dharma practice and achieve Dharma achievements. Whereas lesser kind of animals, they don't have that ability. But if we don't use our human cognitive ability and our other abilities to do that, then we have not differentiated ourselves from those of lesser animals, right? Eating food, finding shelter, relaxing, animals know it very well too. Geshe said, the rats are very smart to find their food. They're sometimes smarter than us human beings. They know where to find the food and where to hide. So just to get a food, shelter, and clothing, animals are very capable of that. But they don't have the cognitive ability to understand Dharma, to visualize, to practice Dharma. This is where we differ, and this is the time, according to the Kadamba Geshes, let's do it, differentiate ourselves from lesser animals. So we would like to stop there today, and we welcome your questions. First, we'll go to Zoom, and then we'll come back. Okay.
So first is a prayer request.
Sure.
For Geshe Dadul, his safety and return to the Abbey, Sravasti Abbey.
Okay. The Tume Jamju Shue is what on the Gain Dandun Namjala again. Geshe Dandun Namjala, Kazan Lab or again. Again to Yakuche that you could blow to Tume Jamju Narona.
So some related questions. If you end up in the hell realm, do you continuously create more negative karma? And can you create positive karma in the hell realm?
Sure. And Mika was moved to the Sagar West again. Mika was moved in the Sagar West and Kiawache in Nuba Yorwe, Kiawaya to your West.
And Mika moved in the Sagar, Kiawate Taparuji, Lord, as it take care, the patient here with Chihuahua. Mika that Chihuahua de la Mama.
Geshe-la's answer is that once we are already in the hell, yes, we will continue to create and accumulate negativities, maybe worse than what we do here in the human. But in terms of positivity, there is a possibility once in a blue moon, right? Some positive thought might come, but it won't stay that long. So it is kind of bleak state, There's a possibility for a positive thought, but that's like pops up and then, doesn't do it.
And he said that the young so just direct Dharma, young said, Korata, Tawari, Zingri Koratan, what you were saying.
For example, there is a particular hell called reviving hells. So in this particular hell, the beings, they end up fighting with each other. So all that aggression and anger and hostility are very much practiced. But then because of the karma, they kill each other, and then there will be some sound comes out like, okay, revive yourself. And then they come back again, and then they have to kill each other until their whole karma is purified. So again, the negativities continue.
And the same person asked, how do you ever get out of the hell realms?
Okay. And then Miguel was she was just start doing the start, give up maybe and then you want to cut up rope carry or so that in the yoke so in the road again.
Cut away.
That is it. That Miguel when doing the saga or again. Give out in the Jung Saber machine or Marwa. You want that on this card or so that is time ever.
That is you. That could the lady, you are lady. Because they gave out in the local. Did should they are lazy? The doors on the court didn't sugar. Didn't she the young the girls popped out of there? What did they say? They don't think that's still what I want to do.
So according to Buddhist explanations, if we are in a hell, it really looks like almost impossible to get out, right? The way we describe everything. So until whatever karma has precipitated our rebirth and stay in the hell, for example, that is purified, that's exhausted, we will be there. But then when that karma is exhausted, right, then some other karma gets activated. So hopefully, let's say if a good karma that we create in the past get activated, then we get out of hell and we are in a better state, isn't it? Or we might get another, Geshe didn't say that, another karma activated to be reborn as an animal would be activated. So you're out of the hell anyway, right? So this is how it depends upon what karma is activated at the time of the death as hell being, Okay, anybody else would like to ask questions here?
Thank you very much for thank you for your teaching today. My question is, if there are signs at the time of death that you are on the path to a good rebirth, for the individual, I think, as well as seeing other people, if there's signs that they may show that they're loved ones and so forth, that they're on the path to.
Okay, so you're asking, like, at the time of the death, are there any signs that we could see that the loved one is going to be
correct? Like if they're calm, relaxed,
okay, sure.
or
okay. Kona condition the did again. That one's a chief and negab so again. A chief and negab so that and the social get that you do in a Casanya again. They get it up all the Yorwa, put the devil in a shidung and did again. Correct, that's a shidan that she was a shidu in a shidan and netan ten again. Or that depends on Yagar stops at some delay, Tapsen within the young Hakoya Yorvas again. That means she does your again. The Kashi do never switch she do again. Tapsen of the Dati Lotte was in good again. That she done the abortions that they tell Yagars argument and Tapsen in there.
That is also your you will call the or today pity you tell you do.
But again, Namiso which is total within the Yorvas or that. The Tawag and Namiso that was she so that Lotte was Shagro again.
The Kaya did that you see it. Because the question of the simply to be able to see with the Yorma. It is not that two with the sun go, she got to move the machine, not the dog do or what.
And crashing in for only again, show you what you thousand
did it? You got it. Did you? That show you watching it, that was she the show, Marva. She will not go there to go.
Yeah, Geshe said, yeah, it is possible, right? Let's say the person who's dying, has done his or her best to do good karma. So at the time of death, it is possible for the beloved ones who are there watching the manner in which the person is facing the death, right? It's not freaking out and seems very calm. It even tells you, don't worry for me that much, it's okay. I'm okay. So that way you feel better, right? But then if you really sincerely practice as a dying person, you may be able to feel a lot of difference in confidence level, and so more hope, right? You don't fear death that much. Now you said I did everything, and looks like that I could have a good rebirth. Right? Yes,
Thank you.
You Geshe Shaka wa did Shaka Lamoriti in Tangar be something from Mazun Sumures.
no.
Any Teshabs is Archo that could the regal bed in some of the it is a Tanga singing don't be near doing the bed, Leon Sandy, near dog Sandy, and that near Jesamaris, Petava no Shasons in Shiva Shams. Did you get the yoga to the Desum Sido?
Geshe Sharawa.
Shega,
제가 보러.
Shega.
로전 때 책임을 지금 들어가게.
Oh, Dotty.
So Geshe would like to share this anecdotal story about great Kadamba Geshe Chegawa, the author of 8 Verses Mind Training, right? And so at the time, so he kind of shocked his disciples, said, well, it's a bad news. My wish is not going to be fulfilled. And they got astounded. Like, what do you mean? You spent whole life practicing, like anything. So what went wrong now, right? So they were astounded. He said, well, I really truly wish to be reborn in the hell to help sentient beings. And now I started to get all these pure visions that I will not be in the hell, right? I will be. So then he said, okay, arrange for all the offerings now, So this is how it happens, A bit.
Thank you very much for your precious teaching, Geshe. Because consider what just we're talking about the good side, but now I'm talking about the bad side, right? Because I think it's a truly practitioner. The more they practice sincerely, the more they facing with a lot of obstacle, challenging, and to me that's the good side for purification, for their sincere, and for your devotion. So I think the Guru want them to purify all of negativity they facing. So is it the
right? It's right or not?
the right side? Thank you, Geshe.
刚才学的这个跟当国跟的从这早晨不那么个人现在说这是莫那什么这边那话跟，学吧那么大我呢，他呢路不去了，但前个那边咱们他们这个这里呀，专门是把忙用的话是话跟。 学吧那么大，这这个这个呀，那给王牌这忙啊，专门是忙用的话跟。这的这莫那什么这边呢，这这个这给为新人给亲戚làm的话跟，可能来年把大爷的今天给他打针了，是的，上个月啥个了，这这因为那看见那是多的。学吧那么大了呀，独立人是差的。
这是个的，学吧那么大了呗，还是那里忙活用啊？你看这些呢，过年里这个每个礼物忙活用过呀，是这个他这个是说，对吧？他过年里啊，会有这地方吃不完的，你说这东西用过要嘛是吧？我在说呗，这里每个忙活用些资呢，这搞到了呀，说着说什么介绍呢？是这道理，可是牛的的说牛我来嘛我可是地方嘛他这个这他这的地方的些呢，因在这里呀，没有的咱呢，就那呀才呀嘛，晓得可是现在这个我的嘛不他这个了，就是两人的要了，两人的要。
Actually, that's correct. It's you should explain in the context of Lamrim that really genuine, sincere Dharma practitioners, sometimes it is as if their life is becoming much more miserable and things are really going wrong with their life. But this could be an indicative sign that because they always wish for all the negativities to ripen upon themselves now so that they don't have to experience them, in the bad migrations in the future. So their wish is coming true, right? So that is what in the Lamrim we call you have created bad karma that can make you suffer in the hell. Now, instead of being thrown there, it ripens here, and maybe you face death or you have a bad health condition. That seems terrible, but compared to the suffering hell, it's nothing, right? Your negativity outcome has been reduced, right? So it is really possible, right? that way. But then it's also possible that some practitioners, they haven't created many bad karmas to begin with, right? Then there's no reason for have that experience, Yeah. Could you go with it?
Thank you. And before I ask my question, I want to thank the previous questioner because that was very, very helpful. I might misunderstand the process of purifying karma, but my way of thinking about it is sort of interpersonal. If I harm someone and I have daily contact with them, I can ask their forgiveness and then vigorously work to change the behavior and the circumstances of my behavior. If I've harmed someone early in my life and I no longer have contact with them, I can still look inward and work to vigorously change the circumstances that caused that behavior to arise. Maybe self-indulging indulging in self-pity, and then that turning into anger, and then that causing me to lash out. What I am concerned about is there will be things that my previous incarnations have done, of which I am incapable of remembering, or I remember a few things I think of from earlier lives, but I don't clearly remember things. That may be karma that has not yet ripened. How does one address and purify karma that we are unaware? I will say that I've been Episcopal most of my life, and that we had a saying that said, "Forgive us for things we have done and things we have left undone." Sure. So there are blind spots in our reasoning. So that's what I'm asking about.
Morangema issue that is number said the wagon. Said that you late to for something the Mora Samatan that the did the Yenaman so wagon. The Kalia Tapena Moranamji laying ever city Kalia, Madina, Mission Bachilia associated to just shaving in a wagon. That mission by the New Year laying Masao. That did die said that me that put that around that through the egg one and north or wagon. Commodore says, and that is late the Tard now a second wagon. In a job, Mongolian lay, Carisha made him 10 yomar again, Miss Rogan. Chitikalia, that chamber, you want to chamber, you have another tapotic, you but in the shout over us again. I young Emma Lemon was on a chingy yomar cheddar majer again. That they get the contested that hard with us, they don't share career or else.
I let it that Shakwash is done. Go Tommy Thomas was having late, you got a talk to the moment you were new thing to do that you want to say there's a divajo, Shah, some Mara. This is the call. Emma Karikar side, Mizia Hamona, and gonna be sing point of the dear Gangalia, Jevashe in the shower zone, in the shower.
They were about the shower engine means teaching in the chain who are my
Chego, did change over. Just told me that you are legal theatre. That one is a huge ton of championship.
Yeah, Geshe said, in the Buddhist practice of confession or purification, even the way prayers have been written, it says that, whatever negativities I have accumulated since beginningless time, right, and that I do here, I'm going to confess all of them. So in a general sense, and that should help, because nobody can ever recall all the negativities or even good karmas we have accumulated over many lifetimes, right? There is no possibility at all. But it's okay that we don't have to be able to recall every incident, anything. But if we have this confidence that, yes, over many lifetimes, I must have done a lot of negativities, right? In different situations. So whatever I have done, I sincerely do confession. So that should work fine. Yeah. Any other questions? Yeah.
So Geshe said that it's not possible to, rather it's more likely to create negative karma, even more likely in the hell realms. And he gave an example of the revival hell, but the revival.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. But people, you cannot kill in the hell realm. They don't die. You cannot. There's the beings there slash at each other and they swoon, but they don't die. So that means you cannot really create the negative karma of killing.
Okay. I can ask that. Yeah.
which is the worst, which basically you cannot create the karma to continue being in hell.
Koran kan shwe de dis ge da de ge gen an zo nyan song le je ba yin na da mi ge ba di mu tun che da da du ga che sig le song ba wa ge chen ge ge da ge pe che le ya nya wa yang shui de sha ba wa ge yang shui na li ya de ne se le da ya shui ba je shui chi go la ba wa ge nya ba na le yang wo ne mi se ta ge che de yo ma wa se ba wa ge che de mi se ta ge che ge le sa ya ko yo ma wa se de di kan de na sa de decision go wa ge nya ba na li ya wo ne se do ya da wo ne shi do ya de ge yo ma wa se the decision.
아니 예那个西亚这是
Say when the Yomar, the one she said the two with the Yomar was all right.
哎
What now are changing the mother? When a Miss Seven letter, ya, the day Yomar was first. Yomar was
到别是养寿的西亚我这养寿的人类当的，那西有时候他就说那瓦给连个那瓦给这些的现在，这个可是没想啥现在是这样的，或者是个那边的，考见。可那瓦的底下你西
now you can miss saving a lady less ago, and that when streets to get said to Chigo Marta, now I go leg Leonard in good your again.
是吧？的没可能连个往这是样，虽然当然就是必须要一点，确实啊，就是我们人类大家都知道一点。
When because Yavana most for the said
是一些的，一些的。你要那今个刚刚康萨这因是嘛是吧？康萨咱们说连那这样的，说连没啥是康萨那作用是吧？是那作用他底下可能这个可能让都见证的这个是吧？
我那个，ali di da jinawa sama, when I say
我那是我的。
Yeah, I'll just make sure that Geshe thinks it is possible that there's a real killing in the hell. As and just the experience of the karmic appearances as that's appearing rather than not really killing someone. But he said no, real killings could happen.
I didn't mean just an appearance of killing, but they of course they
the appearance is that, but
no, it's not. No, that's what I didn't mean that. I didn't mean appearance. Obviously, they're different. They're beings in the revival hell. They just lose consciousness. There's no appearance. That it's not just you're imagining like a fantasy or hallucination. That's not what it is.
So your contention is there are appearances actually.
No appearance. No
appearance. That's what you're saying, right?
No appearance. Just like here.
Yeah.
Same thing. It's just not killing. It's not dying.
Yeah, but the Geshe thinks there's actual killing.
Okay.
That's I was trying to double check.
All right. Yeah, that's right. I just want to make sure that
Sure.
I wasn't talking about just appearances because we tend to think of the
That's right.
hell realms as being just hallucinations.
Sure,
the
right,
appearances to mind, not real.
That's right. He said it's real.
Of course it's real. Yeah. And then about creating positive karma. I mean, didn't Shakyamuni Buddha actually generate bodhicitta in hell? Geshe gave the example of him pulling a cart, ox cart with another being. It was a slightly different meaning to that story, but I think that one of the interpretations of that story is that actually he generated bodhicitta because he wanted not only his partner to be free of suffering, but all the beings all over. And in general, isn't it possible to generate bodhicitta in the hell realm? I think it is.
This is what I can share somebody. And 다자부터 봐 예외 신가 되면서 단인지 신부께 생애지다 전주선께 생애지다 마다시기도 와서 와게. 다 지금 시대 갈라코난 기다 냐와 로가 제주고 말에 심제 탐제 냐와 여자가 타를说了 전주선께 버서게. 다 같이 고나 동다데 디스칸이 쇼게. 예외 나리야 인지 신부인의 전주선들의 게 투구여로 와서 그러게. 게들 용거로 와서.
뭐 다들 그런 거 보고 주지. 이제 그 탑가 뭐지? 지상노당 때문에 되게 말아.
이제다 공배왕이 되는
거. 아, 공배왕이 막 과자여서 이제 그 등에 뒤에 가서 인제 로발 님이 인제 제스 거라.
Yeah, Geshe says yes. That I think what we have to keep in our mind is your strong familiarity or habituation with either bodhicitta or great compassion. Then it's possible in a hell. Like it can spark, because in the hell there's no ability to think and process it. Like there's no such thing, So, but what happened to Buddha was that because of his strong familiarity, Yes.
One more about science of future rebirth. In the Lamrim, there's some teaching about an objective being an objective sign, and it has to do with where the heat gathers at the time of death, but I don't remember the details.
Yeah, you remember that, Quran this is what again on the 다 미시 도엔디 겨와 상고를 터버서 되는데 딱전에 가려서 다 시당을 땐지 라버와게
어리
프랑스 람림 나리아 당원의 전에 딱전에 와게 사바자 마인바 베나지기 먼저 죄 뒤단시어 와게 수고는 죄 뒤단 와게 어디네 그 터는 원의 전에 다 지겨와 약을 링도 겨와 말은 디네기 지겨 말해서
요리
라와
요리
죄 뒤단 공도 와
제
다디 그런 용매네 무슨 통고 말 와게 먼저
나
시동에 마신기 디초바 용 말 와게
어데다
내가 하고 말 와.
그 버지 뉴욕도 연의 콘서 다른 베지 대사고야 이제다 그 뒤에 고사고로
That's right. Geshe said, yeah, in the Lamrim there are descriptions of objectives, some indicative signs of how the heat dissolves, where it starts, you know.
But what exactly is what are the signs? What is that?
Alokona what the two said, when the Geshe Sebushkana Karlago, rest of the two says, Rogi.
그 뒤에서도 거기서 다른 건서 수고 용서디 시중 신디어와 다 시주도 그 시바디 녀우도 에니코 시주 마시미레로와 세다 데디 시바디 두사 가려서 이네 마 고드마 디네 인소 마케야 디네 이네 야 디네 야가르스도
수고거나 트레드
수고 거르서 강반이야 디네 야다 가지.
No, it literally means at the time of the death, right? This is time where our mind or the consciousness is going to separate from the body. So our consciousness becomes weak and weaker through dissolution. Then the body heat that we're really talking about literally, objectively, it is said that if the heat dissolution starts from the crown downward, then that could be indication that we're reborn in the bad migration. If the heat dissolution starts from the source of the feet, it looks like going up, then that could be indication of good rebirth.
수고 강가 시베 신이야. 저 두두도 시루도 대 시바 냐우니 야야 두두 대직 너무 말아. 그 간이다 갈래 신 두르와. 어디 되다니.
Yeah, because if we go through the gradual process of dissolution, right, all these elements dissolve like one after another, right? They don't dissolve all together. So that's what we're talking about.
So it's not actually where the heat gathers. That's how I remember. But it's how it gathers. It always gathers at the heart, but when it starts from the bottom or from
the church, the Ningalia Divina Seramato again. Duke Hane Dudan goes to the Sheramato. Do said the Kawadimatic Shigo again. Church the Rogan. Ninga Divika church, do you the God March, Chisu March and again Yawa that Nason Dredan. Founding a Yachina, and it is Kasoda, there was some but the Ningal do but didn't get a Shigo Maragan.
다 거기서 탐지도 인가 뒤로부터 더뭐 뒤던데 탐지 주사 다가도 너왜 해다시는 인가 뒤로 들어와 인가 뒤에서 뒤에 실어 줘야 돼다 가사간 동야 이제 계속 먹고 야기 더뭐 뒤야 되는데 신들 선생 인가 뒤로 들어와 뒤야 고줘야 돼다 이래 맞아야 되네 야줘야 돼.
That's right. So yeah, in the Lamrim, the description is the body heat, you know, where the process starts. Does it start dissolving from the top down or bottom up, right? Of course, finally, we believe that all these winds have to be dissolved into the central psychic channel, right? That's how it ends.
But isn't it dangerous to try to find out how the heat gathers? Touching the feet of a dying person, isn't that a bad thing to do? Isn't it? Yeah, to find out. Isn't that a bad thing to do? Because the mind would go there, and along with the mind,
the dying person,
something like that.
That's right. Yeah.
Isn't it a bad thing to touch the feet of a dying person?
I think the chiro me today in a case, the Kangbana ya do in a Kangbal Chava in a Kangbal Tangucha that the Negi Hagu in us a good chizu Lawachana chiro.
Yeah,
it is possible, maybe sort of things. Yeah,
it works. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you for teaching today. I just had a question. I find I'm very attached to the pleasurable taste and experience of food and drink. So I was wondering if Geshe can provide some advice on how to counteract that attachment.
So you said you find attachment to the taste and what did you say, smell? No.
Just overall experience, sensual experience of pleasurable taste of food and drink.
Okay.
So I was wondering if he could provide some advice on how to counteract that.
Quran this figure, Quran Kerki ta Nyamyoshina Rawage. Chekala ge Toa Yagodan, that's it. Tunga Shimudin, you know, Quran did it, yeah, that's Chapa so Marwage. Chapa, I think with the Delia Chapa so the Samata Karagana, so that's say toward that Tunga toward in the Chapa Rogan.
알레 세 샤마 보냐 시거라
Say to all the Chapa Chapa, Tunga to all the Chapa Chapa now.
다 됐다까지 그 세거라 베게 세상 주주도 자 메정 하시는 게 좀줘야 그런 원조 줘야 뭐 코베 땡디게 이도와 대화야 말아 그래서 진짜 그런 세거를 줘야 까게 저 딩바사야 이는 세상에 곧 누자 상시 원조도 메정 줘야 뭐 세모도 그 마제니 카메레 뭐도 세거는 되게 기대 삼되나 세거 쉬고 연대 시부터야 제가 말아
Well, in the Buddhism, there's whole description about how one way is to describe this. The food we eat, however delicious, wonderful it is, right? Once we bite and, it just changes its constituents, isn't it? Basically, it is becoming the material for the septic tank, isn't it? So whatever beautiful we eat, yeah, that seems like momentary pleasure, but once we swallow it, then it becomes a part of the septic material that we have to poop out, So we think about that, then we said, okay, there is nothing intrinsic there, right? To get attached to.
지금 어제 됐어요. 남지 다 라마스 송조가 열이지. 세세상 소소 다 대저 류대대가 토야 토다라. 이 사마도 지금 세디 시모이 디시 사죠 벌시다 어디서.
Yeah, Geshe says, the lamas usually advise us that when we eat food, right? Don't eat it out of attachment to the flavor or the taste, anything. But we don't focus on that. We say we are going to eat to sustain this precious body, right? Which is necessary for practice. So you are eating it more as a sustenance, Just a footnote. I think there's one particular prayer we try to say this was eat the food more like a medicine without attachment, things like that. There's a whole stanza, So that is reflection about how to properly approach the food.
Oh, there's the say there's a been Kenya shows in say my car told in so much yeah, we go, yeah, so much charging we go, yeah, the show over. She the direct that maison the she because the Nimutaya did go down the say card the code do this Kalima Jagoyas, but that Bundo Soja would show out the word that Kalima Jagoya and says I call in the Chevrolet and the call charging word over says to some of the call Chago, Judicial Show Mara, and Martinica Mary, young Luso Mara.
Okay, the fact of the matter is we have to eat food, we have right that for our survival, but there are many ways to kind of think about it in a positive way, that, how many, peoples and animals have worked together to provide the food we're eating, isn't it? Many have put effort. So we remember their kindness. So then it takes away our mind out of the attachment part, isn't it? And then we think about the food itself. We enjoy it, but as Geshe said, once you bite and throw it, we spit it out, it really doesn't look any beautiful, right? Everybody will say, yeah, what's that? But that's the food we put into our mouth, isn't it? So thinking about the kindness of others who put all the effort to provide for the food, thinking about that this is a necessity I have to eat to sustain my body so that I can do practice to, that's the way to think. Yeah. Okay, with that, we will stop there today. And I have a lot of announcements to make today, the whole mala of announcements here, rosary. First, I will inform Geshe-la. Drinking set up, I'm going to show you again. 32, you want the content of the kick the wagon. Software, the net 30 could you chuchilia, young nature again. And it 30 Nishitasum Lia, Sapembalia can Pasapoji be Tanju again. 30 Nishitashin, you must sign Yimadi Mogoche, kinds and a condition with Christmas again. So the meditation again. The Jinda Tambre 32, you must the Sapemba the wagon. Jinjo met Tanju position. So, a slew of announcements to make. December 7th, Thursday, is the Lama Tsongkhapa Day, Lama Tsongkhapa's Parinirvana anniversary. So we will do the talk offering at 7:30. You're welcome to do that. And then December 9, 10, and 11, that weekend will be Nyungne practice, fasting retreats of Arya Avalokiteshvara. So no teaching. It is December 9, 10, and 11. The morning it will finish, one session in the morning, Monday. December 23rd is Saturday, and our tour monks will be back by then. And so we will take advantage of them and do solitary Yamantaka self-initiation empowerment, December 23rd, Saturday at 2. I'm sure they will put all this on the website, okay? You don't supposed to remember this. I just say it in case you remember something. December 24th is a Sunday, so because we did the Yamantaka self-initiation and the next day is a Christmas, so in honor of the Christmas Eve Sunday, we don't have teaching, so that Sunday teaching is canceled. Then January 6th, Saturday again, we will do the Vajrayogini self-initiation at 2. Yes, so all of this will be posted on the GSTDL website and things like that. So we will do our prayers now. Page 3. Lord Gyaltsen, Yudong, Dega, Gesang, Gongye, Shidong, Nianba, Tenpa, Zika, Wando, Jishu, Changnian, Shukun, Jala, Sowa, page 5. Ma Wang Dame, Guindian, Dama, Kangli, Yongso, Nida, Senza, Zhanggun, Jiawa, Niewa, Yapse, Zhangso, Tenzin, Xieba, Tenzin, Xie, Yingguang, Zebe, Xie, Ninggun, Shangzhuo, Tenzin, Longdo, Dazhe, Beiyuan, Desha, Jiazhi, Guandu, Xiangden, Shou, Desang, Gongda, Qizhi, Zongbe, Zhe, Yongzhou, Yure, Tube, Nyake, Dore, Deje, Nenggu, Bede, Bede, Hori, Dabu, Xiangden, Shou, Dono, Komin, Zeba, Nandar, Kun, Tendang, Robe, Pende, Shungbe, Rinzhu, Jibe, Shibe, Xinle, Gesang Dorjee, Dendo, Shabden, Shuo, Jishe, Lame, Ye, Melam, Gesang Dorjee, Dendang, Zangme, Shouzo, Kezo, Longba, Chida, Mebe, Dungun, Lundu, Shuo, page 9. Ramzan Shinge, Gongbo, Tsepa, Zodo, Namye, Jingyo, Rema, Shouzo, Seye, Lazo, Tamze, Tade, Mishe, Shauge, Muzhu, Tude, Jeda, Rosa, Jawa, Shiru, Tepa, Zebe, Beiyue, Tade, Deja, Yangge, Xinye, Shu, Yangzhi, Nishe, Gongbo, Sowa, Jide, Zhongbe, Xianglan, Bianme, Zhu, Tenbei, Zawa, Shusu, Zawa, Namda, Zhi, Yangda, Langba, Rosa, Jiaden, Bebe, Xiabden, Shu, Tuzhong, Jiajin, Nongzin, Yangbe, Zhangzhou, Nangzhi, Cangzin, Zhenbe, Gongzhou, Xinla, Songzhou, Debe, Tenbei, Mada, Xianbo, Xiabden, Chebe, Dongma, Guohua, Guzhou, Zhenbe, Zhifang, Xiyue, Gongzha, 这边这点那些当着贴着新年生活，这边朗读故事这道的，这边刚好也做到的，上边这些做一些能说的新年生活，这上多了家人点点点面着，当时上面之间，老天这点点着别小别，做的新年生活。 就说叫我谢谢勤劳的，昨天到现是被拉上大别点多节，接到门边人多说，常着生着人不接，马也把那解就是解吧，两把没把。我呢活得陪我说，冬年到我人不接，马也把那解就是。 也我娘吧没吧，我在广东别我说啥些北京就是没到长日了临时，上街行动没得为我也如何当大心，这我说抗日绕外过来香港的看到在我毛里准备。 现在是我天津叫做 下边谁的高点有节一当古如热闹满这个你要大要面叫我工作养大老的人民世界别了公平
萨达朗耶呀，多谢上人红毛牛。